The grand mansion stood like a monument of power and secrets. Its towering pillars and blackened windows could intimidate anyone who looked at it for too long. Inside, behind walls of silence and wealth, lived a woman trapped in a contract, and a man too cold to be touched by love. You sat at a long dining table staring at the untouched plate of food in front of you. It was a steak, a game, medium rare, exactly how he liked it. Not you. Across from you sat the man who would be your husband for the past 1.5 years. Kim Taeyong, Mafia Prince. The definition of intimidating elegance in a black dress shirt, sleeves rolled just enough to show the veins on his arms as he sipped his wine, not sparing you even a glance. You finally broke the silence. You could at least pretend like we are not strangers, Taeyong. He raised an eyebrow, placing the glass down gently. Why, we are strangers. The contract made us married, not love. You swallowed the lump in your throat. It always felt like this cold, distant, formal. You weren't even sure why it hurt anymore. Maybe because deep down you would hope time would change things. Right, you said quietly, cutting a small piece of steak. But we live in the same house, eat at the same table, sleep in the same bed. Sometimes, can't we at least try to act like we are human? Taehyung leaned back in his chair, eyes finally meeting yours, cold, sharp, but tired. Humans fall in love. We are not allowed to do that, remember? He was referring to the contract, the one written in gold ink and blurred line. You still remember the words, one higher, no emotional attachment, no love, no interference in each other's lives, 1 year commitment minimum. Only the higher part hasn't happened yet, and still you stayed. Is that how you really see me? You ask, your voice cracking despite yourself. Just a clause in a contract? For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he said quietly, "That's how I see this, us. It was never meant to be more." You wanted to scream, to throw the glass at the wall, but instead you just nodded, silent, swallowing every ounce of emotion that threatened to spill over. The worst part was that you hadn't always felt this way. It didn't always hurt like this when you first married him. Under the pressure of your family aligning with his for business stability, you would accepted it. You were a pawn, so was he. You had both agreed, but over time you began to see pieces of the young the world didn't know. You remembered the night 2 months into the marriage when he come home covered in blood, eyes empty. You approached him terrified, and he had flinched when you touched his arm. But instead of pushing you away, he had collapsed on the couch, breathing heavily. "I had to kill someone," he whispered. You didn't say anything. You just sat beside him, offered him a drink, and let him speak. He never thanked you, but he hadn't forgotten either. Then came the small gestures, the way he always checked the locks before bed, how he always made sure your favorite books were delivered to the mansion, how he stood protectively in front of you when his father raised his voice once in a meeting. Those moments, little as they were, broke through your guarded heart. You hadn't meant to fall for him, but you did, slowly, quietly, hopelessly. Now, here you were, 1.5 years later, loving a man who was never supposed to be yours. Not truly. You stared down at your fork, your voice softer now. "It's been a year and a half, Tay. Don't you ever feel anything?" His jaw clenched. His voice was colder than ever. Feeling get people killed in this world. You want me to die for emotions? You flinched. "No," you whispered. "I just wanted to matter to you, even a little." There was a silence so loud it roared in your ears. He stood abruptly, chair scraping back against the polished marble floor. "You shouldn't want that," he said without looking back. "This marriage ends when we have an IO. You know the rules." And just like that, he walked out. You didn't cry, not this time. You sat alone under the chandelier that sparkled like shattered promises and pressed a hand to your stomach gently. He didn't know yet. You were 4 months pregnant, and even though the contract wanted an heir, what you were carrying wasn't just a checkbox. It was a child born out of your love for a man who may never love you back. The silence after Taehyung walked out was heavier than the echo of his footsteps. The dining hall felt like a mausoleum, cold, lifeless, and filled with the ghost of all the things you never got to say. Your trembling fingers slid across the table's edge as you stood up slowly. You haven't eaten a bite, not that you could anyway. The nausea had returned, creeping up your throat, but this time it wasn't from morning sickness. It was from pain. Pain of another mischance, pain of loving someone who refused to even say it. Your hand gently cupped your belly, the subtle roundness hidden beneath your oversized sweatshirt. I was going to tell you tonight, you whispered to the empty room, voice cracking. I was going to tell you about the baby and that I love you. Your vision blurred with unshed tears as you turned off the chandelier lights one by one. The mansion sank into darkness, matching your heart. 5 months ago, Taehyung get drunk and you both ended up in a bed. You tried to stop him, but he never listened, and in the moment of the heat, you gave yourself to him. You sat curled up in the window seat of your bedroom, your phone glowing dimly in your hand. You had typed the message a dozen times, deleted it, then typed again. I'm pregnant. You deserve to know. Please come home early tomorrow. I have something to tell you. But every virgin felt wrong. You didn't want to tell him like this, not when he still looked at you like a business deal sealed with disappointment. Instead, you tossed the phone aside and laid your head against the glass, watching the raindrops trickle down the pane. You didn't notice when sleep finally took you. The next morning, the warmth of the sunlight hit your face, but the other side of the bed was cold, untouched, like always. You got up slowly, heart heavy, body aching. The baby was making you more tired these days, your body craving comfort you couldn't afford to give. By mid afternoon, you would finally worked up the courage to try again. You wore a soft cream dress, one that didn't hug your belly too much but just enough. Maybe, just maybe, if he noticed the difference, he would ask. Maybe this time you wouldn't have to speak first.